Thank you so much for checking out this channel, and I'm going to blast right through this. I'm going to show you the top 15 heroes to be using against Yellow Titans. Diving in, number one, it's going to be Guardian Panther. Now, I got to tell you before I really get into this, that the whole layout of all the characters that I explain are going to be from left to right. You're starting off always with your elemental defensive down. You're going into regular defensive down. You're going to have your specialty characters that are going to give attack power increase or specialty type characteristics, your high tile damage, and then you're going to finish it off with the high increasing attack special characters that are going to be in this. Now, what I will say though is that the Yellow Titans, these are one of the ones where it's a little bit weird and awkward as the first slot, because you always, the exception to the rule is you always want to use characters that don't deal damage first. That's going to give you a little bit more damage when you're setting up your stack. So cartoon heroes, so-so graphics, and dull bosses, come over to the dark side. I mean the dark fantasy RPG Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends has awesome brand new bosses being released, challenging missions with great rewards. Raid Shadow Legends has it all. I love learning new strategies within and the feeling of real progress in game. It's a challenge, no worries. Whether you're free to play or pay to win, you will absolutely love this game. There's tons of resources and friendly players to help you out all along the way. The variety and content in Raid Shadow Legends is guaranteed to keep you challenged and entertained. Explore the world as the content refreshingly grows and changes. I'm forever grateful for all the changes the Raid sponsorship level has given me in the year 2020. I was able to buy a brand new car, get a new place to live, and upgrade tons of equipment to be making a ton of EP content. And it is the very reason why I've released so much Empires and Puzzles content over the last year. Just like me, Raid Shadow Legends is growing and changing. They released the brand new Doom Tower and I'm obsessed. This thing is actually surprisingly very difficult. I just had a major celebration on stream when I took down the Scarab King. Everybody was going wild and crazy because I actually defeated it. So come and fight in the Doom Tower today. So if you want a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do, click on the link in the description. If you're a new player in the next 30 days, you'll get a 1-day XP boost, 3 Raid Flasks, 1 Ancient Shard, 1 Void Champion Bulwark, and 50 Gems. All your treasure, it's waiting for you right over here. Start the new year with a brand new exciting game, Raid Shadow Legends. So normally we always start off with elemental defensive down. For the sake of keeping consistency between the videos, I'm going to do the same on this one, but yellow is a little bit different when building this. So number one on this is going to be Guardian Panther. Guardian Panther is the only current purple elemental defensive down. So the most important thing of what you're going to get on these Yellow Titans is having a character that's going to give the elemental defensive down. Guardian Panther gives the target nearby enemies minus 54% defense against dark for 4 turns. It's really important to know that elemental and regular defensive down stack together, so you want to start it off with that. Now, the next on this list is going to be the regular defensive down. This is what I was talking about. The very first character that I put on this list is going to be Cheshire Cat, which Cheshire Cat gives all holy enemies minus 54% defense for 4 turns. So as you can see, it doesn't deal direct damage. Cheshire Cat gives the most regularly defensive down of any of the characters in purple that we have available. Not to mention it's going to be for 4 turns at minus 44%. Now it is incredibly important to know that this is only going to work against holy enemies, which are obviously going up against the Yellow Titans. So that's why when you're starting the stack out, using Cheshire Cat is going to be also important. The other one that is extremely used in these Yellow Titans is going to be Kunchen. Kunchen is next up on the list. Kunchen's going to give the minus 34% defense for 4 turns. Not to mention also dispels all ailments from all allies. And then the most important critical thing is going to be the Elemental Link, which gives all dark allies plus 46% defense against holy for 4 turns, cannot be dispelled. So it's got an amazing elemental link that you can apply to all your obviously purple characters that you're going to be using, but you're also missing out on 10% of the defensive down for 4 turns. So if you have either one of those 2 characters, those are going to go first before Guardian Panther. Next up on this list is going to be the old-time favorite that we used to have, which is going to be Tiburtus and Tiburtus costume. Now, if you have Tiburtus costume, it's really important to know against the Titans, the regular version is going to be better because it's giving the minus 34% defense for 6 turns, whereas the costume version gives the minus 34% defense for 4 turns. So obviously, when you're going up against a Titan, having more defensive down is going to, for longer turns, is going to be more important. You don't really care about Tiburtus costume too much against the Titans because you want to have the increasing turns and you're only hitting one enemy. So if you don't have them, the Tiburtus costume will be second in your slot, so you will have Guardian Panther first, and then you will have Tiburtus if you don't have either Cheshire Cat or Kunchen. Next up on this list is kind of like the subpar characters that you could be using. It's going to be Gill-Ra, which is actually pretty cool with him being, or with her being a 3-star, giving the minus 34% defense for 4 turns, not to mention also giving the minus 34% attack for 4 turns, which is one of the rare characters in purple that is also going to be giving the decreased attack. So you're kind of setting it up so you're using both. Obviously, if you're planning on using Gill-Ra against the higher level Titans, you possibly want to consider throwing some emblems. And I am all about giving defense, so you want to keep Gill-Ra alive, giving defense and health to make sure it can survive. Next up in this is going to be the third bracket on the Titan layout, which is going to be what I consider the attack increase, attack decrease, the specialty type skills, critical chance. These are going to be kind of the characters that you will be using that are going to be all different. So attack increase is really important, and number 1 on this list is going to be Khiona. Khiona is going to give caster nearby allies plus 45% attack and further 20% increase for every time they're hit for 3 turns. So it is only going to be for 3 turns. It is only going to be Khiona and the characters next to it. So obviously pairing this with Kunchen and the next character over is going to be the most useful. Now, there is a slight edge there of using Khiona as the number 1 character in that attack power increase, kind of the specialty slot against the Titans. Reason being is you're getting the increase that anytime they're hit for 3 turns. I don't really like the turn duration of only 3, but myself personally, I do use Khiona on my Titans for sure, especially maxed out at 80. Next up on this list, I know there might be a little bit of debate to be using Rigard costume. Rigard costume is absolutely amazing to be using against Titan. This is going to be giving the 48% attack for 3 turns, and that's going to be for all characters, not to mention you're setting it up so you're regenerating some health if you really need. Again, the situation is Rigard costume doesn't deal any damage, so you want to put any characters that don't deal any damage first. So you might have a weird layout, which seems kind of counterintuitive when you're building your Titan team, because you could potentially have like a Rigard costume, you could even have like Cheshire Cat, and then you have like the Panther. So it's like, oh, you only have one character that's actually dealing damage. But it's really important to know that when you're dealing a lot of high scores against Titans, it's not so much the direct damage that you deal, it's going to be setting up your stack on the Titan. So Rigard costume definitely fits into that, especially a lot of people are going to have some emblems on him. Possibly a situation to where you're battling between either Khiona or Rigard costume. Myself personally, I use Khiona over Rigard costume. Next up on this list is going to be Ursena. Ursena is absolutely amazing. Reason being is that she's setting it up so she's reflecting any specialty skill damage that is dealt to you from the Titan. So when the Titan goes off on the specialty skill, it's going to send all that damage back, and then is also setting up so it's dealing extra damage against Holy. So all allies reflecting all status effects and 115% damage back to the attacker, and block other negative effects from the enemies. Holy special skills for 4 turns. So Ursena also, not to mention, has one of the highest attack powers at 760. Definitely sets herself up to where she's a prime candidate to be using against the Titans. Next up on this list is going to be Quintas costume, which it's really awkward to see Quintas being usable in any facet, but the costume is actually pretty awesome. Setting it up to where 804 attack is going to be really awesome, but the big factor of why you might consider using Quintas costume is giving all enemies the minus 34% attack for 4 turns. Like I said, between Quintas costume and Gill-Ra, those are the only ones that are going to be impacting the actual regular attack damage, so might possibly find its way onto your Titan team. So next up on this list is going to be Domitia. Domitia sets it up so she gives the caster and nearby allies plus 94% defense against Holy for 4 turns. And she's also dispelling buffs from target nearby enemies, so any buffs that they have possibly could be using, but the big draw to where you might be using Domitia is going to give the extremely high defensive increase to her buddies and herself. Next up on this list is going to be Boomer, which is a little bit one of those weird situations that you might not really consider, but again, setting it up so it's getting the 94% defense against Holy for 3 turns, caster and nearby allies, obviously giving just the same amount as far as Domitia, but being at a 4-star, that definitely goes against him. And then next up on this list is going to be, again, kind of a high attack increase, as well as one of those rare things you don't really consider when you think of Victor. At very fast speed, Victor is going to give all allies plus 30% defense for 3 turns, so that might be a situation to where possibly you're using Victor, especially having that high attack increase. Next up on the list is going to be Zulag. Zulag setting herself up so the caster nearby allies are getting plus 46% defense for 4 turns. And then also setting it up so the caster nearby allies are getting plus 74% defense against special skills for 4 turns. And then also giving the elemental link to all dark allies. So Zulag is a potential to where you could be using on Titans and fits into that kind of specialty slot. Next up on this list is kind of one of my personal favorites in terms of using a specialty skill against a Titan. It's going to be Hell. Hell is really awesome, setting it up so the target nearby allies can't gain mana for 3 turns. It's been quite useful in the past, especially if you're throwing some emblems on her. I know back in the old days, it was one of the characters that I did use to just kind of block the mana. Helps it out so you don't get smashed by a whole bunch of damage from the Titan going off on the special skill. And then kind of in the subpar list is going to be another one of those situations where you're blocking mana. Proteus setting it up so the target nearby enemies can't gain mana for 3 turns. So there is that possibility to be using Proteus as well. Next up on this list is going to be characters that have the high attack power. So this is going to be the 4th slot on the Titan spectrum, to where if you don't have some of the other specialty heroes, you could definitely use a character that has a increase on the tile damage. So on this one is going to be Kageburado, coming in with 780 on the attack power, extremely high attack power. You're not really too concerned about the special skills with dealing damage to the target, especially if it has like more life or less life. That doesn't really impact anything, but where you could potentially find a character to be using on that high increased attack tile damage is going to be Kageburado. Next up on this is going to be Marie-Therese. She's got 774 on her attack, which is really awesome. And then also it is kind of cool setting herself up to where she gives everybody the blessing. Not to mention she's giving all allies plus 30% defense for 4 turns. So the blessing sets it up so if your character dies, they revive, they come back as a zombie, which obviously could be useful against the high level Titans, but you really kind of need them to be alive for their special skills. But if you want to set it up so you revive your dudes, there is that possibility. Not to mention you've got high attack power increase as well as the defense that you got. Next up on this list is going to be Freya, again another character that has extremely high attack power at 776, and purple, that's pretty awesome. And then also giving the defense for all allies for 30% for 4 turns. And then with her running at fast speed, could definitely be relevant against the Titan. I could see a case being made for that there. And then next up on this list is going to be the character that has the highest attack power in the purple that we have. At 803, it's going to be Onyx. You're not really too concerned as far as setting yourself up so you're dealing damage. That's not going to be a really draw to using Onyx. The biggest reason why you could be using Onyx is going to be the high attack power that he's got at 803. Pretty awesome there. Another one on this list, again, kind of a weird hero that you wouldn't really expect to be on a Titan team, is going to be Myztero. Again, the 772 on the attack power is one of the higher ones in purple, so there could be a case to be made for that. you're setting it up possibly to where all status ailments memorize could be cast on the enemies. So there is that situation where maybe you take the Titan attack and then you use it against it, but not really going to be that much of a factor. And then on this one, kind of a weird specialty type character that was definitely used in the past is going to be Ghost Girl. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name. Ameonna. I don't know. You're going to correct me in the comments. I don't care. 771 on her attack. And then she's also setting up so she gets the Ghost form, which is going to set her up to get plus 82% normal attack. So it's just going to increase the attack power substantially, but she also can't gain any buffs while she's in that. So something to consider, but definitely going to be giving you a high attack power for sure. So that is going to be kind of all the purple heroes you could be using. Next is going to be the extremely important slot that we have setting it up on the Titan team is going to be the specialty attack power increase, which number one on this list is going to be my boy Miki. Miki obviously stacking with any attack power increase, going to set up so where you're going to getting the most amount of impact against Titans. So giving all allies a plus 130% normal attack only applies if the enemy has more health, which obviously happens all the time when you've got Titans. Can stack, goes up to 170% normal attack. So with the one thing to kind of consider is that possibly while using Miki, it might be more beneficial to use the Rigard costume version because it's going to give to all allies. Whereas if you're using Khiona and Miki, you're going to be stacked out automatically there. So that is something to maybe consider to kind of bat around, because you can only increase by 40% when you're stacking with Miki. So definitely Miki is an absolute all-star, as we know, going to be an all-star against the Yellow Titans as well too. Next up on this list, if you don't have Miki, it's extremely important to have Tarlak. Tarlak giving the plus 100% normal attack for 4 turns. Stacks with similar effects. That goes up to plus 60 normal percent, 160% normal attack. So you can be using more of the Khiona stack to where you're going to be increasing the attack as much as possible. That's the big draw to Tarlak. And then into the subpar characters that we have against the Titan, all the way in the very 5th slot is going to be Guardian Gazelle. Which Guardian Gazelle, obviously being yellow, is probably not your first choice to be picking a character to go up against Yellow Titans. But Guardian Gazelle is going to be setting it up, so you're going to be getting the increase on the attack, as well as also reducing the damage received by 50%. So you're getting the 100% attack, but it's incredibly important that if you are using Guardian Gazelle against the Titans, you don't have any characters on your team that are going to give positive effects. So you can't use Guardian Gazelle and Rigard costume. It's not going to work because you're increasing your attack power. Guardian Gazelle pretty much sets it up so you can't get anything positive on your team, but you also can't get anything negative. So if you are going to use Guardian Gazelle, you got to be mindful of the other characters that you're bringing in against the Titan. And then next up on this list, again, the random missing character, the chance to miss is going to be Ranvir. Ranvir giving the plus 195% attack. Obviously giving the minus 35% accuracy decrease, which can be kind of annoying. And then you're also giving, that's pretty much going to be it for that. And then the last up on this list is going to be Wukong. Obviously the 185% attack, minus 32% accuracy for 5 turns. So if you really don't have any of the other characters, you're still going to want to bring Wukong. You want to have him in the last slot. Now, as you guys know, in my previous videos, I always build my stack from left to right. I always put the random characters that are going to give the high attack increase to the very far right. The only reason being that I do that is because if you have Wukong or Ranvir, you want to make sure all of your stacks go through properly before you throw Wukong in at the very end, because it's really annoying if you do Wukong first. I know you're thinking, oh, well, I really want my Guardian Panther to deal a bunch of damage after Wukong goes off, but it's way more important to have Guardian Panther shoot off the elemental defensive down rather than the little bit of extra damage you're getting on the direct damage part to it. So you always want to have characters that are giving the negative side effects against the Titans to go first before Wukong, and then you smash them out by dealing a whole bunch of tile damage. If you want to get high scores against Titans, you need to set up your stack properly from left to right, and then you deal a whole bunch of damage using the tiles. So thanks so much for watching this content. Make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you on the next video.